His slave auction was almost over. Crowds had thinned, traders were counting their profits, and most cages were now empty. But one cage stood alone in the corner, dark, heavy, and covered in thick energy bars. It didn't look like the others. Inside, curled like a wild animal, was a girl. But not just any girl, she was alien. Tall, with silver markings on her dark purple skin. Long claws instead of nails. Her hair looked like wild vines, glowing faintly. Her eyes glowed yellow, and when they opened, even the guards stepped back. She growled low, deep, like a predator. Ready to strike. 2 guards stood near her cage, but not too close. One of them whispered, "She bit off Derek's finger last time someone got close." The other nodded. She broke a chain with her bare hands. They had to drug her just to move her. Traders passing by shook their heads. No one's gonna buy that. She's broken, untamable. Let the army take her. Or throw her into the mines. The auctioneer stood on a small stage, reading off names and final prices. Then he looked at the last cage. His smile faded. He sighed. "Final sale of the day," he said, loud enough for those still watching. Captured from the red claw wastes. Marked as Class 5 dangerous. Strength confirmed beyond normal species. Last owner ... didn't survive. The alien girl looked up slowly. Her eyes met the auctioneer's. She didn't speak. She didn't beg. She just growled again. The crowd stepped back. Starting bid. 100 credits, the auctioneer tried. No hands went up. 50? Silence. 10. A nervous laugh came from someone in the back. Pay 10 credits for my own death? No thanks. The auctioneer frowned. Then we will return her to military holding. Dangerous waste, if you ask me. Untrainable. Just then, a calm voice came from the back. I'll take her. Heads turned. A human man stepped forward. Tall, muscular, wearing a simple jacket. And boots. A small scar ran across his cheek. His eyes didn't look afraid. In fact, they looked curious. You sure? The auctioneer asked. This is no pet. She's not obedient. She's not even safe. The man pulled out a credit chip. Still want her. The alien girl stood slowly inside her cage. She was taller than expected, almost matching the human in height. Her sharp eyes locked on him. She didn't blink. She didn't growl this time. She watched. The auctioneer laughed nervously. All right, human. She's yours. Don't blame me if you end up in pieces by morning. The cage opened, but no one moved. No guard wanted to remove the chains. So the human did it himself. He stepped forward. The alien girl tensed, her claws twitching. He didn't speak. He didn't show fear. He took the keycard from the panel and slowly touched the locks. The chains dropped one by one. Neck, wrists, ankles. The girl didn't move. She just stared. Her breathing was deep, steady. The human backed away and said softly, "You're free to walk." She didn't understand his language, but somehow, she understood the meaning. The crowd watched in silence as she stepped out. No chains. No collar. No growling. She walked beside the human. Calm like the storm after lightning. One of the guards whispered, "What is he thinking? She'll rip him apart." Another added, "That human won't last the night." But as the ship doors closed behind them, the girl looked at the man again. Still no words. Just a strange, thoughtful silence. And somewhere deep inside her, for the first time in years, she didn't feel like growling. She felt something different. Something curious. The door of the ship slid shut with a soft hiss. The silence that followed was heavy. The alien girl stood still, her yellow eyes scanning the walls, the corners, every shadow. She didn't attack. She didn't run. But her muscles were tight, ready for war. The human walked ahead, not once looking back at her. He spoke calmly, as if talking to a friend. "This ship is old but warm. I've got food. You can eat or not. I won't force you." She didn't answer. She couldn't understand his words, but his tone. It wasn't threatening. Not like the others, the last men who bought her used cages and whips. This one used quiet and space. And that confused her more than anything. He opened a side door and pointed. That's your room, you can stay there. It locks from the inside. I won't enter unless you let me. Still, she said nothing. He turned to leave, then paused. I'm not afraid of you, he said softly. But I won't hurt you either. The door slid shut behind him. She stood in place for a long time, alone, free. No chains, no watchers. No commands. But also no purpose. What did he want? In a nearby outpost bar, two alien traders laughed loudly, mugs slamming against the table. You hear about that human? One said, nearly choking on his drink. He actually bought her, the other roared with laughter. The untamable one? That wild animal, dead by morning. I'll bet 50 credits. Make it 100. Even the bartender grinned. Some humans are brave. Some are stupid. He's both. Back on the ship, the human was fixing a broken heater. Wires sparked. He didn't notice the quiet footsteps behind him. The girl stood there, watching. Still no words. Still no sounds. But her claws weren't raised. Her eyes didn't burn with anger. They held curiosity. She sniffed the air. The smell of metal and old fuel mixed with something else. Meat. Cooked. Warm. He finally noticed her and smiled. Hungry? She blinked. He slowly placed a piece of meat on the table. Then sat on the floor, a good distance away. She didn't move. He ate first slowly, letting her see. She sniffed again. Still watching. Still waiting. That night, he lay on the floor in the common room. He didn't lock her door, didn't chain her, didn't even sleep with a weapon. She stood over him once, silent, claws inches from his face. She could kill him now. Fast. Quiet. Easy. Because this man, this strange, soft-spoken human, was the first one who hadn't treated her like a monster. And that was the most dangerous thing of all. Because kindness was harder to fight than any cage. She backed away, returning to her room, locked the door from the inside. And for the first time in years, she chose to sleep. For 3 days, she didn't touch the food. The human left meals near her. Door warm, simple, nothing fancy. But each time, she let it sit until it went cold. She didn't trust it. Or maybe she didn't trust him. She watched from behind the door. Listened to the sounds he made in the ship. He talked to himself sometimes, fixed wires, repaired panels. He even hummed a little tune now and then. But never once did he knock. Never once. Did he force her out? That made her uncomfortable. She was used to pain, not patience. On the 4th day, she made a sound, not a growl, not a hiss, just a small, low breath as she peeked through the door crack and saw him sitting on the floor, eating from a metal bowl. He looked tired. There was a cut on his hand from the engine repair. But he didn't complain. He just ate in silence. Then he did something unexpected. He placed the second bowl right next to him, then slid the first one aside, one bowl for both. And then he took one bite from it. Just one. Then he looked up at her and said softly, I won't eat more unless you share. She narrowed her eyes. What kind of trap was this? But there was no weapon. No lock, no leash. Just 2 bowls and a quiet man waiting, her claws curled. Unsure. Then slowly, she stepped out. She didn't sit next to him. She didn't say anything, but she took a bite. The meat was soft, spiced, cooked just right. Her eyes widened a little, surprised. It wasn't a trick. It was food. Real food. He said nothing. Just gave a small smile, then leaned back against the wall. The silence between them wasn't cold this time. It felt almost peaceful. After a moment, he spoke again. I'm not here to own you, he said. I don't care what they called you. Monster. Weapon. Untamable. He looked straight ahead, not at her. I see someone who was hurt and who fought back. That struck something deep inside her. She didn't reply. Couldn't. But her hand stopped shaking. Her breathing calmed. And that night, for the first time, she didn't lock her door. Later, while the human slept in the engine room with a tool in his hand, the girl sat in the hallway, staring at the stars through the ship's window. She had no name. No family. No home. But now, she had food, a warm place, and a man who treated her like a person. She didn't understand why, but part of her, the part still holding on to life, didn't want it to stop. Not yet. She stood in front of the mirror and stared at her reflection. For the first time in years, she wasn't covered in dirt. Her hair, those glowing vines, had been washed. Her skin, once bruised and scarred, was now clean. The human had left clean. Clothes folded outside her door earlier that morning. She had almost torn them in half out of habit, but instead, she wore them. And now she stood there, not recognizing the person in the mirror, not a prisoner, not a weapon. Just a girl, and that scared her more than chains ever had. She walked into the kitchen where the human was cooking again. He turned, smiled, and nodded. Smells good, right? She didn't answer, but she didn't leave either. He handed her a small plate. No force. No command. Just a quiet offer. She took it. He sat across from her and started eating. And that's when she did it. She growled, but not like before. This one wasn't a warning. It was frustration. I don't understand you, she said in her language rough. Broken. Why aren't you afraid? He didn't understand her words, but he felt the change in her tone. I'm not your enemy, he said softly. You've had enough of those. Her claws clenched. Not from rage, but from something else. Emotion. It burned in her chest like fire. Later, she found the old combat helmet in the ship's cargo room. It was cracked, dusty, clearly his from some past battle. She picked it up, looked at the name carved on the side. SGTJ Keller. Was that his name? She brought it to him and dropped it on the table with a loud clang. He looked up, surprised. She crossed her arms. I know what you are, she said coldly. Soldier, killer, like the others. He raised an eyebrow, still not understanding her words, but her posture, her challenge. It was clear. I was a soldier, he said. But I don't fight anymore. She pointed at the scar on his cheek. He touched it gently. Someone I couldn't save, he whispered. That stopped her. Her hand slowly lowered. Her eyes narrowed. You fight with silence. With kindness. That's your weapon, she said in her tongue. She didn't know if he understood, but he smiled anyway. Like he felt what she meant. And suddenly, she hated it, because it was working. That night, she didn't return to her room. Instead, she sat by the engine, across from him, handed her a cloth and pointed to a broken panel. Help? She took it. And for the first time they worked together. No chains, no orders, no violence. Just tools. And trust. She still didn't know his real name. He didn't know hers either. But when their hands brushed by accident, neither of them pulled away. It wasn't weakness. It was something new. Something strange. Something. Stronger than fists. And she knew without saying it that this time, the fight wasn't against him. It was for herself. The human was asleep. He lay beside the engine, one hand resting on his chest, the other still holding a wrench. Soft breathing. Calm face. He looked peaceful. She sat nearby, legs pulled close to her chest, eyes wide open. She couldn't sleep. Sleep was dangerous. Sleep meant memories. But that night, they came anyway. Blood. Fire. Screaming. She was small again, barely a kid. Child. Soldiers kicked down the door of her village. Her mother was pulled away. Her father fought back and was cut down before her eyes. They called her special, called her useful. They threw her into a dark box and dragged her across. Star systems. Training. Torture. Tests. She didn't remember her real name. Only the code they gave her. K7. Kill on command. Feel nothing. Obey, they said. But one day, she stopped obeying. She escaped, and became what they feared most, a weapon. Without a master, she woke with a gasp, claws cutting into the metal floor. The human stirred, eyes opening halfway. He didn't speak, didn't move. Just watched her silently from across the room. Her body shook. She didn't want to look weak, not in front of him, but he didn't laugh. He didn't mock. He only whispered, "Nightmare?" She didn't reply. She couldn't. He sat up slowly, still keeping his distance. Then, to her surprise, he picked up a worn photo from his bag. A girl. Human. Smiling. Maybe 7 or 8 years old. "My sister," he said. "She died in a fire. I couldn't save her." The alien girl looked at the photo. For the first time, her claws lowered. Later, she sat across from him at the table. Neither spoke. The silence wasn't heavy. It was shared. She looked at her hands. "I was made to kill," she said in a low voice. "That's all I was ever good for." He stared at her, serious. "That's what they made you for, not who you are." She looked at him sharply. "No one ever said that to me." He leaned forward. "Maybe it's time someone did." That night, she walked to the mirror again, looked at her reflection. And for the first time, she didn't see a beast. She saw a survivor, but far away. On a cold moon base, someone stared at her face on a glowing screen. "Subject K7 has been activated again," the officer said, eyes narrowing. "Send the retrieval team." They didn't know she had changed, and they didn't know who she was with now. It started with silence. 2. Quiet. Even the ship's usual hum felt like it was holding its breath. The alien girl sat by the window, watching. Stars drift like dust across the black. She didn't smile, but she wasn't growling either. She felt something close to calm, but that calm shattered when red lights blinked on the control panel. Warning, incoming vessel. Military class, fast approach. The human rushed into the cockpit, checked the screen, and his jaw tightened. They weren't pirates. They weren't traitors. They were soldiers, and they were coming for her. She stood behind him, eyes narrowing. "What is it?" she asked. He didn't lie. "Someone found you." Her breath caught in her throat. She knew this day would come. "They won't ask nicely," she said quietly. "I won't give you to them," he replied. She stared at him, stunned. "Why?" He looked her in the eyes. "Because you're not theirs." Minutes later, the enemy ship docked with a loud clang. Heavy footsteps echoed down the hall. Voices. "Return the prisoner. She's dangerous. She's property." The human stood in front of the main door, armed with nothing but a welding torch and a steel rod. "I won't let you take her." The lead officer, a tall alien with glowing armor, stepped forward. "You're a fool. Do you know who she is?" "Yes," the human said. "She's someone who deserves a choice." The officer signaled his men. Weapons rose. She stepped forward, claws flexing, ready to fight beside the human. He held out a hand. "Not yet." The soldiers fired. The human grabbed a blast shield, blocked 2 shots, then lunged forward, striking hard, not like a soldier, but like someone who had something to protect. She joined him, not for escape, not for revenge, but because he was worth fighting for. Blasts lit the hallway. Sparks flew. Smoke filled the air. The soldiers weren't ready for her speed or her fury, but this time her rage wasn't wild. It was sharp, controlled. Together they pushed the intruders back, one by one. Until the last soldier dropped his weapon and ran. The ship was silent. Again. Damaged. Scorched. But safe. She stood there, breathing hard, blood on her claws, but this time, it wasn't hers. He wiped a cut from his forehead and smiled. "You're fast." "You're stupid," she replied. But then she added, "Thank you." He looked at her and nodded. "You don't belong to them anymore." She stepped closer. "No," she whispered. "Now, I belong with someone, but far above, floating in deep orbit. Another ship was watching. A hidden voice spoke from the shadows. She's not gone rogue. She's evolving. Smoke still clung to the walls of the ship. The floor was covered in black marks and broken pieces of armor. A dented weapon rolled across the floor, stopping at her feet. The alien girl picked it up and dropped it in silence. She wasn't shaking. She wasn't hiding. She stood tall now, shoulders back, chest rising and falling with calm breath. Not a beast, not a weapon, not property. She had chosen her side. The human sat on the edge of the hallway, wiping blood from his brow. His hand was bruised. His shirt burned in 2 places, but he smiled when he saw her. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded. "You bleed too much," he chuckled. "You bite too hard." She blinked once, then gave a small, strange sound. A laugh. Her first. Later, as the stars passed by outside, they sat in silence. He cooked again, badly this time, and she took the spoon from him. "Let me," she said softly. He raised an eyebrow. "Since when do you cook?" She stirred the pot. "Since now." When the meal was done, she sat beside him, no longer across the room. He looked at her. "Do you want a name?" he asked. She froze. A name. She had not thought about that in a long time. She looked at the stars, remembering her mother's voice. A soft hum, a word in her forgotten language. "Sorry," she whispered. "That's beautiful," he said. She nodded. "My mother called me that once, before they took her." He didn't ask more. He didn't need to. He simply said, "Nice to meet you, sorry." And that was the moment she truly smiled. But in the dark of space, the hunter ship finally appeared. Silent, sharp, deadly, the kind used to erase mistakes. Inside, the officer spoke coldly. "She's still alive. And now she's formed an emotional bond. Kill the human. Capture the girl." The attack came fast. No warnings, no calls. Just a sudden slam boom. Against the hull of their ship, Sari grabbed the human and pulled him down just as a beam tore through the cockpit wall. Alarms screamed. She growled, not like before. Not wild. This time, it was protective. He looked at her. "Run." She looked at him. No. She opened the weapons locker and tossed him a blaster. Took a blade for herself. They stood side by side. The enemy soldiers rushed in quiet, masked, trained. But Sari was faster. She tore through the first 2 before they hit the floor. The human covered her back, shooting quick and clean. They didn't speak during the fight. They didn't need to. Their movements matched like they had done this 1,000 times. One heart, one breath, one reason. When the smoke cleared, only 2 figures stood. Her claws dripped. His hands trembled, but they were alive. And free. In the silence that followed, Sari dropped her blade and walked to him. She touched his hand gently. "You could have left me." He looked into her eyes. "You could have killed me, but we didn't," she said. He smiled. "No, we didn't." A message alert blinked on the console. She saw it, walked over, and shut it off without reading. She chose this life, not the one they tried to force on her. And she chose him, not as an owner, not as a master, but as someone who had seen her when no one else did. The galaxy might call her untamable, but in truth, she was never wild. She was just waiting for someone worth being loyal to.